Welcome to the SN Off the Shelf podcast. I'm Russell Redmond, Senior Editor at Supermarket News. After the initial surge triggered by the COVID-19 pandemic, online grocery usage remains elevated in the US. Marketing firm Acosta reports that nearly 70% of consumers now shop for groceries online at least some of the time, compared with 40% about a year ago. What's more, an analysis by Brick Click reveals that supermarkets' established online grocery users, that is, those who have shopped online with a grocer for over 60 weeks, generate 3.5 times more revenue than new digital shoppers. To support higher e-grocery activity, micro-fulfillment has continued to gain traction among grocery retailers of all sizes. This scalable solution is seen as an attractive option to process more orders faster, offer more capacity for core products, and reduce the cost to serve, as well as to deploy quickly and at less expense. With us today is Max Pedro, president and co-founder of micro-fulfillment specialist Takeoff Technologies. The Waltham, Massachusetts-based company has engaged in projects for micro-fulfillment centers, also known as MFCs, with U.S. grocery retailers such as Albertsons Companies, Ahold Delhaize USA, Sedano Supermarkets, and Big Y Foods, as well as with grocery retail wholesaler cooperatives, Wakefern, and Associated Wholesale Grocers. Let's find out more about Takeoff's MFC experiences and technology, the demand for micro-fulfillment and its advantages, and the outlook for the online grocery market. Thanks for joining us today, Max.
Russell, it's my pleasure to be with you today.
Well, let's start off by taking a look at where Takeoff's MFCs are now in action in U.S. grocery retail. How many live MFCs do you have now, and with which retailers and where?
So we have right now 22 live MFCs. That's been a big growth since we last spoke. Really exciting, the many that we actually have live, but the results that our clients are getting out of these investments. We are actually proud to say that we believe we're the only MFC companies allowing these retailers to get that return on that investment. We founded this company with one dream: make supermarkets, chains that want to sell their groceries online profitable. And at a time where that end shopper demand is bigger than ever, having the productivities of these hardware and software assets really close to our shoppers is really paying off. So we are very excited about everything we've learned, the many things we've put together for our clients, and very happy that in real life, our clients are getting that benefit.
With which retailers do you have MFCs right now? I know I mentioned some of them.
So we now have 14 retailers partners, 2 of which wish to remain. We're going to be doing joint announcements with them in the near future. But the ones that I can mention, it's really blue chip supermarket chains. You mentioned Albertsons, ShopRite Wakefern, Ahold Delhaize, Big Y is our partner. AWG will soon be launching some exciting things. We have one very exciting partnership to announce probably in the next 30 days of a significant retailer going at speed in deploying many of these sites. Still here in the USA, and we have some other partners that have lived in stealth mode, gone live with one or more of our facilities. So really excited story here in the US, but we didn't stop here in the US. We have Loblaw as our partner in Canada. We have a very nice partnership with Woolworths in Australia and New Zealand, with Majid Al Futtaim Carrefour enterprise in the Middle East, and we're going to have many more. We actually have signed now 2 South American retailers, which we're launching this same year, and excited about expanding that frontier as well. And Europe and Asia is next for us. So really exciting of the traction that it's happening out there.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, with Albertsons, the store banners, you have MFCs with a Safeway and is it Jewel Osco?
Well, we are adding, we're now multi-banner as they are. You
Right.
know that Albertsons has about, I think it's like probably 11 banners, across the US.
Yeah.
So out of the same facilities, we're sometimes serving Albertsons and
Oh, okay.
Safeway and Bonds and many of their West
Oh,
Coast
okay.
markets. You mentioned our launch in the Chicago area with Jewel Osco, but the reality is we serve with these same assets all banners that our
Oh,
supermarkets
wow.
want to be open for.
I got, is it the same thing with Ahold Delhaize? I know it started with Stop and Shop and
We still have not gone multi-banner with them, but hopefully we will. So definitely, again, these assets work really well for whichever marketing or strategic decision our clients want to do. The end result is you've assembled an order very efficiently and close to where those consumers are. So
Mhm,
that's all the possibilities we have ahead of us.
mhm. How many MFCs did Takeoff launch last year? Was it that anything more than the year
So
before?
I'm
Or?
actually not sure the exact count, but I think it was north of probably 12. And this year we have about 80 MFCs already committed.
Mhm,
Some of which will launch this year, some of which will I know we need to work with our partners and them securing the sites, and the
mhm.
remodels and the permits and all these kind of things to go live the following year. But it's going to be an exciting. We hope to, let's say, a year and a half, be breaking that 100 MFC
Oh,
mark
wow.
of live sites, which is fantastic. And we have many more in the pipeline with some multi-year agreements with some retailers beyond that. So things are heating up big way.
Mhm. Well, you had mentioned associated wholesale grocers. That's maybe a little bit of a different application since they're more of a wholesale focus, serving independent grocery retailers. How would that work with Takeoff?
So it's no different to a little bit of the same work we do with someone like Wakefern, who is a co-op.
Right.
There's a mothership, but then there's member owners. We need to
Mhm,
work with both, and it's we know how to do that efficiently. So they get the advantages technology wise of, their common infrastructure with the, precise uh, delivery for those
mhm,
individual members, owners that they need.
mhm. And you also had mentioned Loblaw. Is that another one where you work with multiple banners and which
Um,
chains there?
well, Loblaws is multi-format, and they're a huge player in
Right.
Canada. They definitely are. They have their fingerprints on food, but also drug. They
Mhm,
have a big pharmacy chain. They have big, medium, and small stores. So they, we look forward to that relationship evolving to where we can actually do efficient fulfillment for many of those banners.
mhm. Well, when talking about all these projects, you probably just answered my next question. What kind of demand is Takeoff now seeing from micro fulfillment solutions? Has it really increased a lot over the 2 years of the pandemic, given the elevated online grocery use?
So it's definitely increased and it's definitely been accelerated the last couple of months, because I'll give you a couple of stats. When we launched Takeoff in 2016, the US market was about 0.4% online. Before the pandemic, it was about 3%. Now it's about 10 to 12, depending on which number you believe the best. So it's a 30x time fold of 5 years from now. That acceleration has really spiked that end shopper demand like crazy. The little caveat is the first, months of the pandemic, supermarket chains were very busy in keeping their people healthy and in keeping their shoppers healthy
Mhm,
and in working on their supply chains that they were under a lot of pressure. They've now emerged from that. And you combine that with, they now have the bandwidth to really focus on sustainable capabilities with that end shopper demand is through the roof. And
Mhm.
that's why when we show them what we can do for our clients and that the results are there, um, they're going at it at increased speed and increased scale. So it's that demand has really heating up, and I do envision, I would say, this to in the next probably 3 years to go through the roof. We've now started working with many of the retailers that have been collaborating with their own capabilities.
Mhm.
But there's a reality also of big platforms out there that are helping them with gig economy players and all these kind of things. That has created a lot of demand, but it's created some nice challenges that we're in a great position to help all participants of this ecosystem. Efficient fulfillment is the name of the game. We definitely have geared up for quick commerce. We can assemble a 60 item order in less than 6 minutes. So that capability and making people really productive is something that it's extremely valuable. You couple to that a situation where in most places like the US, there's almost no unemployment. So I know when someone's thinking about, ooh, do I hire millions of people to do a very unproductive thing, go to a
Mhm.
supermarket to shop orders, or you want to make them 13 times more productive and at an MFC, the answer is let's do the latter. That's why people are jumping at full steam ahead.
Can you talk a bit about the kinds of deployments that Takeoff is doing in terms of are the facilities inside stores or attached to the stores, or are they standalone, so-called dark store types of facilities?
So we've done both. Until now, I would say 80% of our facilities have been within stores. Many of our partners actually have some excess space, and this is a really productive way of taking that to that next level. But many of our partners have really busy stores and they
Mhm.
need a bit of extra. And whether it's, I know, they rent a space nearby or it's fully standalone, we make
Mhm.
it work. No, there's one caveat that
Mhm.
it's fully standalone. You definitely want to have a high throughput MFC, so shrink is not an issue. No, it's much easier to manage shrink when you're, I know, co-located with a store, and especially those highly perishable categories, you start at the
Mhm.
beginning picking from the stores. Uh, but now that is a problem that most of our clients don't have anymore. They have volume through their noses. So the standalone MFC works really well for them as well. And let's face it, there's plenty of real estate. If you think about how hard physical retail has been hit by this pandemic,
Yes.
there's plenty of those 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 facilities close to where our clients' shoppers live. So they're taking full advantage of that.
What's been the typical size range of these facilities, and also their order processing capacity and how many SKUs they can store?
Sure, our typical facilities probably size-wise range between, I would say, 10,000 square feet to the biggest ones are about 25,000 square feet. Still small, still envision, I know, basketball court to, I know, two of those side by side. You know? So that's the biggest ones that we've had. We believe in small and close to shopper is the way
Right.
to, you know, provide speed and a great cost of last mile. So that we our
Mhm.
clients believe in that very clearly. In terms of, I would say, throughput capacity and the sales that go through these facilities, typically they range to $30 million of very profitable sales, generating
Mhm.
about a couple of $1 million of EBITDA for our retailers, and a very nice business case with very nice, I know, 35% IRRs on those investments, which is fantastic. Back to the offer to the client. We have clients ranging from about 6,000 SKUs all the way to almost 60,000
Oh,
SKUs.
wow.
Most of our clients think that the sweet spot is go to about 12,000 SKUs, which is where you can actually get it all inside those four walls of the automation, and that is typically about 95% of even the ones that offer a very extended range. No, you put your fast sellers within the facility, and you only go pick that jar of capers that you sell one a month from the shop floor. But that is a decision that our merchant partners end up making.
Right.
The faster they want that offer to be, the more they want to stay within those 12,000 SKUs and just offer that with incredible prices and incredible speed. But some retailers do want to wish to open everything that they have within the roof, and we enable that as well. Again, we're a technology that creates a ton of labor efficiency for everything that can be automated, and you have full inventory control, and you have that kind of dark room environment.
Mm-hmm.
But we follow our merchants' choices and decisions on what that end portfolio being offered to those shoppers is.
Mm-hmm. Well, talking about the advantages of micro fulfillment, you mentioned productivity and efficiency. Can you outline some of the other pluses of the technology?
So sure, starting with, I know, productivity is not an insignificant one. It's you suddenly, instead of losing quite a bit of money, you can actually make quite a bit of money and still not upcharge those end shoppers. That's a very important piece. Another big element is speed. The world has been teaching people that the next day expectation is, I don't know, something of last decade. People now can choose in minutes or a few hours. So by definition, you need to have something that it's really quick in assembling orders close to where people live. It's a question of physics. You need the combination of those things to deliver on speed and a good price. But then on top of that, we add some other things that are really important. Accuracy matters quite a bit.
Right.
The first point of dissatisfaction for shoppers is I don't want to pay more. But the second close one is I put a 50 item order and I got 45 items. I still need to go to a supermarket because I'm missing these 5.
Mm-hmm.
That is a huge issue. That's a consequence of shopping out of a live store, which you true up once a year, those inventories, and you don't even know that Russell has that jar of mayonnaise in his cart and hasn't even checked out. And let's face it, there's shrink in those, open to item stores.
Mm-hmm.
Product walks out. If you have about 92% accuracy, which is what a physical retail store has, if you do the math for 60 items, you have almost 100% probability you're not going to get a few items. We solve that because this is a dark room environment with full inventory control. Our facilities have 99.9% inventory accuracy, which means we sell what we really have. And if someone bought that jar of mayonnaise, we know it and we reserve it. And we suggest, through the portal of our client, instead of buying the 24 item Heinz, would you be interested in the 48, for example, or a different brand? If you offer those choices, first, you know exactly when to replenish and you're in stock most of the time. But if you offer those things up front, people make logical decisions and they're never surprised of they open the bag and things are not there. So we solve the accuracy problem in itself. Lately, we found a fourth big thing that we are solving, which is labor shortage. Our pickers at the MFC are shopping about 700 units per labor hour. So would you hire someone to pick those amount of products, or would you send them to an open store and pick 60? You want definitely to do the first model. So the few people that our clients can hire, or even platforms can hire, they're now being so much more productive that we are giving them that fourth element of, in a labor shortage market, you definitely want to put people in very productive environments and give them the tools to be that.
Well, last year, Takeoff announced a partnership with Hussmann Corporation. Can you tell me about that and some of the deployments that are using their solution?
Sure. Hussmann is a great partner of ours, beyond what's known by everyone in the industry, which is they're great at refrigeration. They're also part of the Panasonic company, so they're a great electronics firm and technology firm. They do things for us like lockers and electronic tags and NRF, near field communication devices, handheld solutions that really solve real problems for our clients and create a distinctiveness. The name of the game is every second matters, every second of labor matters as well. Any point of accuracy matters quite a bit. So when the business case is there, we bring those assets as part of our solution to our clients and continue to drive productivity, accuracy, speed, and labor throughput. Now, which is the four things I mentioned a little while ago.
Can you talk a bit about how Takeoff's platform is evolving? What version are you at, and what are some of the changes we've seen and are upcoming?
Sure. And I'll start by saying at a high level, we've learned so much. It's been now 3.5 years that we've been live with our first facility, which was our dear Sedanos in Miami.
Right.
We've learned so much software-wise, process-wise, hardware-wise, that our product keeps on evolving all the time. And it's funny how probably with, like in magic, the things you see are actually not the secret sauce. The real magic is on the things you don't see. It's all the things like processes and integration, the whole orchestration of this ecosystem, from how shoppers interact, but how the data flows from their distribution center, their headquarters, all the way to the store. How do people choose to buy in their pickup, home delivery, gig economy platforms? How do you integrate and orchestrate all these kind of things? How do you keep the most relevant dynamic assortment in there? How do you train your employees so they're always up to date, and with the rotation we have in the industry, always productive from day one? How do you support hardware and automation in an environment that's a retail store is not the natural habitat for that. It's a big DC, where that has lived. All of those things, we're actually happy to say that all that is part of our platform when we launch. And we've learned this so hard that we're like Tesla. Everything's backwards compatible. We do 2-week sprints, and those new features, those additional pieces of sometimes it's things you see, but in most cases it's things you don't see. We actually have invested a ton in industrial AI. The industrial AI is, we call it, it's the beast that feeds this whole system. You have to have that intelligence, so the right product is in the right place at the right time for you not to disappoint a shopper. And the more you learn about that, and the more machines learn about that, the more scalable this is. So all of that is under the hood, and that's the secret sauce of why our deployments are delivering the business case versus some of our competitors that have, totes go back and forth. But we think that when a robot works, that's 20% of the answer. The other 80% is all of the other things we put together in our platform for you to be able to do efficient fulfillment in groceries.
Well, we talked about before how the online grocery market grew faster than probably most people expected. What's your outlook for its growth?
So first, this is gonna, I know, even post this pandemic, even this being endemic and people not being concerned about their health and going to a supermarket, this is going to be super sticky. About 95 of the people of our clients, shoppers, say they're going to keep on doing this, even if that piece is removed. But when you look at the percentage where we are, and you look at places that continue growing at least 25% a year, even in the cases where I know there's no longer concern of a pandemic and people just got trained of, I can afford to buy my cart online. This is going to be a trend that it's not going to stop at 10, 15, 20%. This is a category that people want options and the convenience of buying online, but not wanting to pay more for it. We actually believe that it's exciting things that are coming to continue to fuel this wave. There's also this reality of we will be helping some of our clients reinvent their retail stores. We found out that when we used to call this, I'm an ex-retailer myself, we used to call the wants and the needs categories. The wants are the discovery. It's actually the fresh. You want to go and choose your avocados and you want to choose your lamb rack. But the needs, it's 70% of the sales of a supermarket. It's toilet paper, it's Cheerios, it's things that it's an SKU that you actually know you actually want. Most of the shoppers are actually not interested in browsing supermarkets for the needs categories. They want the most efficient way of having that toilet paper and that Cheerio in their pantry or in their fridge. That means that efficient automation will mean serving not only online sales, but also that center store. Many of our clients think that center store, there's a better technology than a shelf. It's a micro fulfillment. And many of our clients will migrate those center store sales into micro fulfillments. When you start doing that, then you're not talking about 10, 15% of the largest vertical in the world. You're talking 70% of the brick and mortar sales that need this better animal of, if a shopper wants to come to the store and pick their own avocados, definitely allow them to do that. But they'll get their Cheerios and toilet paper in the trunk of their car directly, or sent home directly. And for the people that don't even want to do that and they want you to pick up the avocados, the asset will be there, so you can still pick those avocados and everything else and send them to someone's homes. That is the next world, and that is, the world is in dire need of efficient fulfillment. And there's a better technology on the shelf, which, don't get me wrong, has worked really well for our beloved vertical for the last 100 years. There is a better technology out there. It's the micro fulfillment platforms that enable you to be faster, cheaper, but also more relevant to how consumers want to buy.
All right. Well, that should do it today for my questions, Max. Great stuff. Thanks for taking the time out to talk with us.
It's my pleasure, Russell. Always great to catch up with you and your viewers.
Thank you. Take care.
You do the same. Bye.